And there we go. Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, congratulations. You are now a level 2 CrossFit trainer. How's it feel?
Feels good. Yeah. Obviously we'll get into it, but it was a good experience. It definitely gets you that like revitalized feeling of CrossFit after doing something like that, where you're like more jazzed up about it. So yeah, it was good.
That every CrossFit course that I've ever taken after, you're just like, all right, we just like, let's reset everything now. Like we're just fully, like the Kool-Aid is in my veins. And you're just fully bought in. You can't wait to coach. You're like reading extra articles now. It's always like a good jump start. It almost makes you wonder if maybe they should do like, see, you think you can't do it for free, but like jumpstart courses. Like, all right, CrossFit's going to be in this city. They're going to be in Albany. It's $50 for coaches. Come on in. Let's do a CrossFit revival. Do you think that'd be a thing? I mean, people would do it, but do you think that'd be a good thing for CrossFit overall to do like revivals? Hey, $50, we're in this thing. It's a one-day thing. We have world-class trainers here. Let's talk about coaching. Let's do CrossFit programming. Let's work out all these things. Just a little jump start for a community or a city.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't do that for that amount, though, is the thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So
that's hey, all right. How many, if you go, all right, let's say you go to New York City, how many CrossFit level 1s are there and higher? Right. And then it's $50. You're going to make some money. I mean, you're not going to make like level 1 and level 2 money, but they're not even making what they used to make back in the day. My level 2, there were 60 people there, all paying $1,000. So whatever that comes out to, you had a much smaller class, but even with the extra $500 on the course, they didn't make anywhere near the money that made it at mine. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be a nice thing. I don't think you could do that digitally. I don't think it would have the same effect, right?
No.
Everyone's got their cameras off and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, it's just those videos are kind of like available. Those are what like gets emailed out and everything. So
and that's when you're like, oh, I'll watch the re-record, the recorded version of it, and it just doesn't have the same thing. We actually at the gym used to do revivals. It'd be like a weekend event, and it's like kind of like what we're talking about, just a CrossFit revival where there's going to be a gymnastics module and talking all about gymnastics. Here's what we're trying to do in class, practicing skills, and then a workout, then a break, and then, all right, let's do barbell stuff, and let's talk about strongman. And that's actually where, that famous strongman video, if you've ever seen it, of the axle clean that people every now and then still emails angry things about. That was part of the weekend CrossFit revival. So we used to do one. Maybe we should do one. Should we do a revival in the new year?
We'll see.
we'll see. Yeah. All right. We'll talk about it. Well, back to your level 2. What we're going into the weekend, what was your kind of expectation? Like what were you, thinking that you might see from it? And with that, were you surprised about anything?
I will say overall, I thought it was going to be maybe a little bit more intense. Yeah, I think everything was kind of the way that it went, I think was kind of, I expected, but I thought it would be maybe like a little bit more cutthroat or yeah.
You mean that so like they'd be more harsh with their criticism in coaching things?
I mean, it's different because I was thinking as I was heading into it and I was like, I'm not really nervous, but I also felt that I had reason to not be nervous. Like, I know that
because you've put in the work.
Right. And like what we do with like our coaching development stuff, it's like, I have enough that I know going in there, I know what they will want from me. And I think I'm also the type of person that's like, oh, you only need to say it to me once and I'll just do it. And then just overall how this year has gone, like I've officiated a wedding. I've spoken like multiple best man speeches this year. Like the talking in front of people isn't an issue for me right now. So yeah, I wasn't really worried, and I figured that I wouldn't have too much of a reason to be. Um, so yeah, maybe I just expected it to be a little bit more intense, like a little bit more. 'Cause, yeah, we'll get into it, but
Yeah. Well,
they're
I think
clearly
it's like,
levels.
yeah. And you're a student, right? You're a paying customer, and two, you're a student, and they also want you to keep going. So like imagine if they crushed you, and you're in the
Yeah,
bathroom sobbing, and stuff like that. You may not continue coaching, and that's not good for CrossFit. That actually used to happen way, way back in the day.
mhm,
Um, and I think too, it's a good thing as a coach to draw on your past experiences. And it's funny how like everything's cumulative, and a lot of people are right at the level 2. I'm sure, I don't know if they did it, I know they did it at ours, going around the room on day 1 and like say your name and what affiliate you're from and how long you've been coaching. People get really nervous in those situations, but you've officiated weddings, you've talked on for your best man speeches, plus you've been coaching, so you're in front of people talking all the time, and also doing the podcast. You're talking and giving your opinions and being free with that, and it's going out there to who knows who's listening or
right.
or watching. So like all of that and everything else that you've done, it helps. Even competing, just being in front of a big crowd on a live stream, people at home eating popcorn, you have a judge in front of you who's a former Olympian, and you're trying to do this really hard thing, and you just got out there, there's 15 seconds left on the clock, and you make the lift. Like all of that helps do all of it,
Yeah,
right? It's pretty cool thing. That's why you got to do things. You got to make yourself
right,
stronger. Yeah.
exactly. Like I
What?
remember around this time last year, like maybe the beginning of the new year, when I talked about like, oh, I have this coming up for like these weddings, and I think I'll be fine because I'm talking out loud while I'm coaching, and I do group stuff a lot. So yeah, it's interesting to see how everything this year specifically really aided and like brought themselves together to bring me to the level 2, which fell like towards the end of the year. So it's like really you have everything that's built up this year to that point where, yeah, at the point that we did it, I was probably the most ready to do it that I would have been throughout the entire year. So yeah, it worked out
Yeah.
well.
Good timing. And it's perfect that you're going to be able to go into 2026 now, the new year, 2 weeks, and just be that much stronger, to start that year versus maybe where you were to start 2025. Like, do you look
Yeah.
back at like starting point 2025 Miguel and be like, you don't even know, like you wouldn't even be able to handle Miguel right now coming into
Yeah.
this. And it does change things too. Like you just coached a class today, having gone through the experience, and also just kind of like knowing in the back of your head, like I'm a level 2 now. Like I've leveled up. Like, did you find it affecting the way you're coaching today, or anything like that, or how you carry yourself, or maybe your confidence level?
Yeah. I think it's more of an intentionality thing. Um, partially from the like recency of just doing the level 2, but also again going into the level 2 knowing exactly what I should be doing, but maybe in practice in just your every week I coach, and I'm doing pieces here, but maybe I'm not as strong or I'm not emphasizing certain things as much, than going to the level 2 and them going like, all right, a lot of my criticism was like, okay, we know you're fine with this. We need more of this thing now. So then
Yeah.
I think today that was kind of my thing of like, all right, I know what I need to focus on. I have no issue with like controlling a group or doing this or that. These are the things that I need to really put emphasis on. And then, yeah, I think it'll just be continuing that for, yeah, the remainder and just pressing on like the basics that they always talk about.
Yeah. Always got to go back to the basics. And this is why it's good to get feedback because, you could just continue to make the thing that you're good at 175%, good. But then you're just always leaning into that and you're never working on these other things and they just kind of stay at 80%. Whereas if
Yeah.
you leveled them out, now you're overall so much better. But it's hard to know those things until you get eyes on you, until you have someone
Yeah.
watch what you're doing. And you're like, yeah, I didn't even know I was saying that, or I didn't even know I was doing it that way. Or I had no idea so much time had gone by, and we're wasting time. Was it a huge difference that you felt from the level 1 to level 2 in terms of just the course itself, the way you were going through it? I know when you did the level 1, you were, of course, newer, but just were you surprised in how different the courses were, though?
Yeah. I mean, we had talked about it definitely for a long time now. So I knew that this one was more emphasis on smaller groups and you kind of leading things and more hands-on versus like, I honestly can't even fully remember my level 1 all that well, but there was definitely more lecturing in the level 1. And really, I think maybe when we did like muscle ups, that was like we kind of partnered together. And maybe I guess you could call that like more like coaching stuff, but otherwise, this was all just that. Um, I would say also with our group, I don't know if it's always like this. Um, we had a lot of good movers, and they said this themselves, but it made it maybe a different type of level 2 because it was really like now you really have to pay attention because we all move super well. And my thing is like, all right, you can correct something that's super obvious, but you have to get away from like that person's moving well enough.
Yeah.
And like you can always give a cue somewhere here or there. So
Well, it's
yeah,
good you
so this
had
one was
that
very much like,
particular that in particular. It's good you had that experience because it's like the famous
yeah.
Glassman quote: "Don't let yourself get used to their shitty movement." And you see people all the time, and you might start to default to, "Well, that's just James's squat," but it's like you can't make
Mhm.
James's squat better. There's no extra little thing here, and it gets even harder
Right.
when someone's a really good mover, and to be able to have the eye to catch those nuances, it's important.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
that's
yeah.
where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah, for sure. So we did a lot of work with that. So yeah, it was a lot of just, yeah, we're just working. And it was, can you spot the flaw on this person who is moving well? Um, and then helping us through that, where it's like, obviously Shaf was there. So it was like Shaf as an example of like, Shaf's front squat is fine. Like his max front squat is a really high number. So he squats fine. But as we break this down, all right, me and Shop both could lead with our hips back a little bit more to initiate the front squat. Like I know I'm very quad dominant in the front squat. Um,
And
so
that's
it's
by
like,
design. We kind of do that on
yeah.
purpose.
So they were doing that too when they were like, okay, these guys are weightlifters. Here's how they're gonna squat, but you can always do this or this. And it's getting the other coaches to also see that. I did the push jerk every single time it came up because they said because I moved so quickly, a lot of people couldn't see the fact that my arms were moving slightly before my hips were all the way open. So every time the push jerk came up, I was volunteering. And they would like really have, I was doing so many reps because they were like, did you see it? And the person would be like, no. And they'd be like, do it again. And I was just doing push jerk after push jerk after push jerk.
You're
And
trying to
yeah,
move slower,
so
and you're like, I don't know how to move slow.
yeah. And that was another thing that they said to me. They were like, your demos as well. They were like, you move great, but you move so fast that like nobody can tell like what's going on. And then I was like, that actually makes sense. That's something I never actually thought of. But yeah, it was a lot of that kind of stuff. Everyone moved really well. So it was like really laser focus, find a point to look at and see if they're doing that part. If it's not perfect, then you need to, there needs to be a cue. Not like, yeah, I guess that's fine. And you're like, it's yes or no.
Yeah, black and white.
So yeah, there was a lot of work there, and I thought that was great.
That's good feedback on the demo slow or demo controlled.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll do that a little more often? Like, okay, you're gonna demo the air, even the air squat, just go a little slower so people can see
Yeah.
your hips get below the top of your knee instead of doing WOD speed.
Yeah. So even today, I mean, when I was demoing, we did some squatting stuff in the warm up. So as I was demoing that, I like was really intentional with it. And then we had thrusters. So I had to make sure like, all right, when I'm standing up, am I fully open at the top before I press over my head? And like really having to be intentional in my demoing because I'm telling you this. Am I doing that? And is it clear to see? Um, so yeah,
You almost
yep,
have to demo sometimes a little robotic, like if you're
yeah,
gonna do the push jerk, like I'll jump and then when I'm in the air, then punch. So
yeah,
like so it physically looks like two pieces. Snatch is another one, like kind of just like getting people like to show slow-mo kind of going underneath it because these things
yeah,
are so fast. And for someone like you, everyone's like, all right, got it. We'll try to make it look like that. And it's
right,
like,
exactly, yeah,
or someone in the back of the room is like, oh, I was blinking, like it timed up with my blink, and can you do another one? What
yeah. So
with the movement faults, did you realize that there were some that maybe you'd been missing on a regular basis? Maybe just because you're not looking there, or you weren't focusing on it for a series of classes, or just you're like, yeah, I never see that.
it was, I think overall, they really made us focus on looking at one specific body part at a time. Like you're like, all right, they're doing a dynamic movement. One, you're only looking at one person, which like we've talked about before, and I know that of like when they're moving, you can only see one person.
Yeah.
But going like, all right, what are you looking for? That's what they stopped us a lot when we would like go to the side and we're watching this person move. They go, wait, what are you looking for as they do this? And you're like, oh, I was just looking. And they're like, find something to look at and look at it. And then see if that's what you want. Um, so I mean, a lot of the movements, I mean, we talk about it, it's like everything's really like core to extremity, but like a lot of it is hips. And then, all right, from the hips, now what? Um, so that's like usually a good place to start, depending on the movement, of course. But for a lot of them, it's
Push
like,
jerk.
are they
You're
initiating
watching
with the
that.
hips? Yeah. Are they opening up at the top fully? Are they squeezing? Are they, so a lot of it was like, all right, look at the hips to start off, or at least know like, all right, we're doing the air squat. We're going to start off. I want you to initiate with your hips. Cool. Is everyone doing that? Great. Now let's move on. Now I'm looking at your knees and telling them, like, now I'm looking at this. So I'm coming around and the cue will be on this. Um, and like really knowing yourself and allowing the athletes to know what you're looking for as well. Um, yeah. So that was a big one of like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I have been looking at people, but I'm looking at like, yeah, you're looking at the full movement, but I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking for as they move. I'm just looking at the movement. And then that's how you can be like, yeah, that looked fine. because you're not looking at a specific point.
Yeah, you're just waiting for something to magically pop up, like with
Right.
bells and whistles on, and that's when you might kind of like miss what what the bigger cue or what the bigger fault was. Like
Yeah.
you're just all right, you caught one little piece, but it's like, all right, well, that actually happened because they didn't open up their hips.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were like, all right, I'm just gonna look for the hips, that might solve everything and fix that.
Yeah.
Did now as you're going through that, so like that's kind of like that's probably day one, first ish activity of like, okay, they're gonna call reps and you're gonna go person to person and you're just looking, right? Is that was the visual was the first part or
Yeah.
seeing?
So like we were just saying like what we saw that was wrong out loud. We weren't giving the corrections yet. Um, yeah, and it was like, what are you looking at? Are they doing it? Okay, move on. Now look at the next person. Now they're static. Who are you looking at when they're static? Can you bounce around and see what you're looking for in the static position? So yeah, that was the first like little breakout there.
Okay. And then as you're going through that, what was it like for you kind of being on the opposite side where you're the athlete now when like are you hearing the conversation you're trying to like were people like changing their movements like because like you're having a conversation off the side like all right you're not like I'm seeing the chest is up were people kind of like doing that or was everyone just kind of like going and doing their own thing because you don't want to skew the test right
Right. So, and again, I think that's why it was such a good group, is because there was nothing like egregious or like you would hear things, but it was like the smaller things of like, all right, now everyone tighten your like tuck your ribs down. Like little things like that. Or like,
Mhm.
oh, this could be a little bit more. So nobody was really like drastically changing their movement until like we got to the point where we were giving those cues. Because again, everyone moved fairly well. So you
Yeah.
would go around and you'd be saying things and they're like, look at Schaff on this one, or like, look at Miguel on this one. And then they'd be like, go. I would do it essentially the same. Like maybe I would be like, all right, better this time. And then to be like, do you see that? And they like say something. Like again, little things of like me and Schaff also tend to we're like more mobile overhead. So the bar's further back. So it's like little things that like I wouldn't even think to be like, oh, don't do that this time because it's just my natural movement.
Yeah.
Until like you get the cue and like you get the different fixes. Cause even after they were giving cues, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So they'd be like, perfect. What's another cue that you can give to make this person understand what you're saying? And like, yeah. So yeah.
They just got to be there on a rough jerk day to understand why we're trying to put it all the way back there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what was an example of a cue where you're like, or were you the one giving the cue and they didn't know what you meant, or were you the one receiving the cue?
Oh, both.
Oh, okay. Well, what's an example of when you received a cue and you're like, I don't even know what they mean by that, and then how did they fix it if you remember it all?
Um, Let me think. It was probably something overhead. Hmm.
It's like something like reach higher or like something
Yeah,
general
so
like
like
that. I feel
things
like
like that, like press up even more, tuck your ribs, and then kind of feeling like where the PVC pipe was overhead and things like that. Um, the push jerk was one for sure, where like by the end of the weekend, I had to like I'm fully jumped up in the air and my hands haven't moved yet until like I'm on my way down and then I'm like pressing up. Like just because it was like so much emphasis on like not yet, still not yet, still not yet, squeeze your hips, jump, fully jump. Like there was just so much with that.
mhm.
Um or like yeah, and then you have to go to the tactile of like don't punch with your arms until your shoulder hits my hand or something like that. Um So yeah, there was a lot of that
How about a
for
cue that you
me.
gave and they didn't understand it?
Right. Yeah, so we were working on the deadlifts, and it was making sure that the knees were pushing back when initiating. And I was able to spot it, and I was just like, get your knees back, push your knees back a little bit more. Like, because we got to a point where they were like, I get what you're saying. I'm trying to. And you can see the trying to, and you're like, I don't know yet. And then they'd be like, okay, now look down. And then I'm looking at feet, and I'm like, oh, they're kind of sitting back on their heels really early. So then they were able to give the cue of like, okay, now rock forward on your feet a little bit more. Now push your knees back. And then you could see how that weight distribution in the feet kind of was able to lend itself to that. So yeah, that was one where I was like really hammering, like trying a bunch of different cues. And they were like, sometimes after a while, you got to look at another place. Like I got really good at going like, here's where the issue is. And they were like, perfect. You're there. Now you have to change your view and look at something
Upstream
else
and
and see if
downstream.
that's causing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, and I don't know if you've tried it yourself on just like standing tall and like getting all your weight back and then trying to reach down. Like that would be an awkward position, and then it might even make you think, oh, but I am doing the thing, but just not the most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
So this is all day one.
No, this is a mixture throughout. Day one, we did do a fun type of exercise of like one-on-one coaching, where we were adding in the cues and that, where we'd have one person do a movement, one person coaching, the rest of us looking at the side, and then like we'd sub in and out, where maybe one person was giving you the person moving a cue, and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Then we'd swap out and we'd say, give another cue. Another person coaching, and you're like, now give a cue for the same thing in a different way. So those drills were really helpful because, if you're too locked into like a visual, this is what you're doing, this is what I want you to do, or just a verbal, like, how can we mix it up? This has already been said. If that's your go-to cue, where would you go next? So that was kind of like secondy breakout time. Yeah,
that's good. You got to have you got to have a couple in the chamber. You can't just have. I said chest up. That's it. That's all I had.
Right.
And also, I'm sure when you saw other people subbing in and out, you're like, oh, I'm gonna steal that. You said squeeze your tummy, and I'm that worked. Did you see any instances of that where you're like, oh, I never would have said that way, but that worked, and I'm going to steal it?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just get away from things where you're like, that makes sense, or that's something that I used to say, but I've been so reliant on this. Even the like, we always say like, oh, your hands are full of groceries and you need to close the car door for like pushing your hips back. Like I mentioned that, and then like people started using it throughout the weekend as well, where I was like, oh, I thought that was like a classic one, but maybe just like within our circle of like,
maybe
that's what we say. So like even our members would like, oh, we hear that all the time. But like for some of these people, it's like, oh, I've never heard that, but that makes sense.
Well, that's cool. You had one. Yeah. You taught a couple people something new. That's nice.
Right. Yeah.
Did you get stumped at all during that, where you're like, coming? They already said two of mine.
Oh,
and
for sure.
I don't know the third one.
Yeah, there was a lot of that where I was like, you got to help me out here. Like, but a lot of it, again, because nobody had like egregious faults, were like, good, you've identified where it's from. Now look somewhere else. Where else can we look to get this even better? Yeah. And I mean, even the seminar staff, there were some things that they were saying when like people were, myself included, like at times I'm like, I think I'm doing exactly what you're saying and it is not working. and they would just keep on going. Something, 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 something.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Like you have a bar overhead and they're like, hey, do this, and then it's not working, so they would go on to like your knees. All right, push your knees, like just moving up and down different spots.
yeah, and it's like, okay, tuck your ribs down. But like get your chest up, but also get your elbows up. Like the front squat was another one where it's like,
Mhm.
because the PVC pipe, and you know how people either can't have it make contact or this, but they're like, no, I'm willing to fight with this all day for you to get a better grip on that PVC pipe, get your elbows up, get it touching your collarbone. So there was a lot of that stuff.
And that's great too. Like it's always good to have a reminder to be relentless,
Yeah.
right? Be like nope, but we're not moving on until you get this, or like, hey, let's take the time to work on this now, or because the athletes, they there's only so much coaching capacity they have at a given time, and also you don't want to like burn someone out by every single time you're just doing this to them, but you got to be relentless to a certain point if you want them to make progress. Was that like a reminder to you on like, oh, maybe I'm not spending enough time with each person or on a certain thing with some people?
Yeah. No, that was again because of they kept on saying it, and it was like the theme of like, we're a group of really good movers, so you have to be like on them, because they're like, they want to queue as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, that's fine enough. Like you can make everything that they do better as well. And it was like, yeah, being relentless was like a big thing of like, keep on hammering it, keep on hammering it. There would be like, I know you saw something there because I could see your eyes change, but something in your mind went, that's fine. And then you moved on. They were like, nope. As soon as you see something, as long as it makes you question even a little bit, then it needs to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, you've probably experienced it before, dropping in places or being in a busy class where you get almost no attention, and there's bigger fish to fry in the class,
Right.
but it's like everyone needs coaching, like even if it's a little thing. So you don't want to do that, and that's how it's also how you lose good athletes too, eventually from your gym. Like, well, I get no feedback. I don't, and then I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm getting better. And it doesn't always have to be negative. It's just like it could be like positive reinforcement too. Like, hey, you're doing this really,
Yeah.
really well, and then you come back around like, hey, let's try this. And I know sometimes the athletes give pushback too. There are people that don't want feedback, but then you got to be like, hey, it'd be like going to the doctor and being like, or the emergency room, and be like, well, I'm here, but like I'd rather not have the paddles. Like I'm good. It's like, then
Mhm.
why did you come in here? I'm the paddle guy. You know, um, they're there. Everyone's there to be coached, so you never want to just
Yeah.
assume like someone's having a bad day and I'm just gonna. You
Mhm.
got to be nuancy with it, but yet they have to understand too. Like this is why I'm here. Like I'm not here
Yep.
to attack you. I'm here to help you make better. It's a team thing. Did did you work out on the first day or both days?
Yeah. So we did power cleans.
Mhm.
So we did like a complex, I guess you could say. Um, so it was 3 total power cleans. The first 2 were strung together, then you would drop and then do a third. And then we kind of did like pairing up as well. So that one was like, it's hard to give a cue while they're in the middle of a move, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Like, I mean, and I guess it helped also that I was doing
Oh
barbell
wait, was it
club.
like sorry, was it like you're working out and your coach is watching you and then you switch?
Yeah, so we went every 4 minutes.
Mhm.
So you were paired up. So like one person would go early on, and then, they'd say whatever. And then you'd had enough time for the second person to go um, and do theirs
Got
as
it.
well for like 5 sets or something. Um,
That's cool.
yeah. So it
that
definitely helped
that's a
doing barbell
really
club.
cool. Well, that's a really cool experience that you got to have with that, because
Hmm.
my level 2 was so big, it was just a sea of people even paired up. And we weren't really doing that. It was just kind of like, this is going to be the workout time. And it was more
Hmm.
of a demo of that coach leading the class
Yeah.
for our like heavy day, which I think we did cleans, or no, I think we did snatches. So that's maybe it's a product of having a smaller group, or they've changed. That's a definite change in the last 10 years since I've done it.
Mm.
That's really cool that you
Yeah.
had the time to be able to do that.
So then the two of them would walk around kind of like to the groups and they'd be like, what is this person working on? Cool. And then they'd watch us do it like one of the sets and they'd see like what feedback we were giving, what we could also include, how we were doing it. Because again, it's like those first two you're stringing together. So we were working on like giving fast, like easy, concise cues in that time of like, oh, it's hard to give a cue in between that first and second rep, right? Because they're stringing them together. Like your cue might not even pop up until like you see the second one happening. And you can't be
Yeah.
like, while they're doing cleans on this second one, you're like, oh, your hips were a little bit higher on that one. You could sink your hips a little bit lower. Like you don't have time for that. So then as
Yeah.
they drop that second one, you're like, now what are you going to say? Quick. And then after that set, do you have time to be like, here's what I want you to do, blah, blah, blah. Or, and then like when you're both done, if you have time, that's your time to discuss, right? Of like, okay, so here's what I'm seeing. Here's why I'm saying this. This is like you have that time in that moment. But yeah, it was good because of barbell club that I like kind of know how to give cues in like weightlifting and like quick in that way. But it was interesting to like give something quick that you're like, can they even hear me? Like the music is on and like
Yeah.
they're just doing cleans. Like if I say something in between rep 1 and 2 as they're just bringing it down, like, is that something that they'll even pick up on? So yeah.
And it's good to have the reinforcement too on during the Metcon, like, because that's where a lot of coaches will go dark. There's no
Mhm.
coaching going on. Like you did really great on the general warm up, the specific warm up, the build up, but then 3, 2, 1 happens, and like, well, I don't want to ruin their score, or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's like, no, remember that's why you're there, and that's when all of that is, that it's being in practice. That's when you have to be very, very active. But now you're just doing it in a different way,
Yep.
versus like during the specific warm up, they're holding positions. You can be like, all right, hey, on this next one, I want you to do this. And then it's the Metcon now. If Josh is up doing a set of 10 pull-ups, you can do quick little things that he will hopefully hear and maybe make an adjustment. But when he's walking to his bike, that's an opportunity too. I bet, hey,
Yep.
when we get back to the pull-ups, I want you, like, let's try this. And then the next part on that is trying to catch him too when he's going back to the pull-up bar after the third one, and be like, all right, remember, this is what we're doing on this set. Is that kind of what they were having it? Well, that would be in a Metcon, like a Metcon sense. And a
Mhm.
strength, same thing. Like talk to people.
And they were, as like questions came up as well, the idea of, which I know we talk about, of like, are you comfortable stopping someone in the middle of a workout and being like, no, we got to work on this? But they said the other part of that is, are you able to give a cue while they're moving that keeps them safe so that you don't have to stop them? Like, we can always, like, if you're comfortable, you can always just be like, pause, don't touch that barbell again, let's talk. Or are you able to give an actionable cue that's good enough to like keep them safe and work on this part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Use both, and definitely don't be
Right.
married to, like, if you're only ever just stopping people, you're just stopping people all the time.
Yeah.
What one way I like to soften the blow on like stopping people is like, let's say they've just done a bunch of burpees or they're coming in for the run and they're going to go to the barbell. I might be like, all right, not like stop and like breathe. Like, so like you're like giving them like, all right, I want you to get a breath in. Now on when you go now on this set, do this, or grab it and do this, that way it's not like, because you can't have a conversation, unless it's like it's really, really bad. And then you're just like, I'm stopping you from doing the workout now. It has to be just like, like it has to be smooth where, all right, there, and maybe even you're just like, all right, breathe, do this. And you're like, I'm also getting you the rest you need. You needed to not jump right on that bar. What'd you lift? What'd you hit for the power clean?
I honestly don't even know. Because one, it's pounds, and then two, their plates were different. They still have like the black bumper plates, but I think I put on 35s initially because those were also blue, like a blue strip on them. And then I think I added like a couple 15s. So I can't remember, but it was very comfortable. Yeah.
Were there any things that you were uncomfortable doing, and it kind of like showed you, this is something that I don't like to do. Like, I don't like to give tactile cues, but you're working on tactile cues and you're like, yeah, I never do these because I hate doing it and whatever, was there something like that popped up?
I mean, I tactile is never like my go-to. Like, I would rather just do it otherwise. But no, I feel like this is why I'm like, I need to bring this into my actual day-to-day coaching, because I'm very good at tell me what do you want and I'll just do it. Like, I'm already here. There was nothing I was really like uncomfortable with. I guess you could tell also, like, just public speaking wise, like when we went off into groups and they're like, the reps are on you. Like, just people's volume and comfortability speaking. I was pretty fine with that. But again, it's like, all right, tactile isn't my go-to. Cool. I'll do a tactile now. Now I need to make sure when I get back that I'm doing tactile also. And they did tactile in different ways as well. That, is a little bit more like,
it doesn't just mean your hands, right?
Right, exactly. Where they're like, you can do it this way, or tactile just means like it is a physical thing. Like, all right, don't let your PVC pipe touch my PVC pipe in front of you, or like, it's not always you moving something or someone. Yeah.
Did they go over like and yeah, they might have, and like with tactile, it's like you could either lift their elbows up for them, or you could put your hands up above their elbows and be like, come up to me, to teach that the way they like learn how to do it themselves. So that's just another example.
Because there was like, we were doing something, it might have been push press, but in the static overhead, somebody was coaching and I think they moved somebody else's PVC pipe to be like, bring it here. And then as we went on, they were like, so what you can also do there is have them move it so that they know what that feels like on their body to put it in that position. So yeah, there were things like that of like, you can just move things for them, especially when you're doing tactile of like, here's where I want you. But you can also, bring yourself to this point, or like do this and see if they can feel it themselves so that it's more replicable for them.
Yeah. And it's more, they're doing a practice rep.
Yeah.
So if every time you have to do that for them, their like brain is learning how to do that. And it's also good if you're a short coach and you have a tall athlete, put that PVC pipe up there. All right, move yours forward until it hits mine. Boom.
Yeah.
Because like you're not going to reach up there and go get Boris's PVC pipe, and then if you do that, it could be like, well, now you could move it the wrong way because you're just straining. That's like when you're trying to get something off the high shelf and then it falls and it breaks or something. So it's good to have all those those tools in the back pocket. Were there any little things like that you learned from like with the visual cues? Because that's another big one. Like, so you guys are definitely practicing a lot of verbal cues, and there's some tactile going on in there. The visual cue, I guess with you, it's like not moving too fast. But were there any other little nuancy things that they were like, you could do it this way too?
Yeah, for me, it was like, yeah, that was good. That was so fast that they won't know like how to do that themselves. And then it was also like, overdo it. Here's what you're doing. Do it so incredibly wrong. And then because there were some where I was like, that is exactly what they were doing, but you can barely tell the difference between the first and the second. So you're like, you really have to overemphasize that they're initiating with their knees. Like you have to like do like a sissy squat to be like, this is what you're doing. Here's what I want you to do.
Oh, you mean when showing them the fault that they were doing?
Right, exactly. So that was one that I was like, oh yeah, I guess I don't do that as well as I should. One, and being like, okay, here's what you're doing. So incredibly wrong. Here's what I want you to do. Make sure it's methodical and like something that they can do. Because
Yeah.
again, like if I'm doing snatches, I'm like, I'm very comfortable with this movement. I can go as fast as I want. And then they're like, I can't do that. So mine is
Well,
never going to look like that.
And you've practiced so many more reps than they have too,
Right.
to be able to do it fast. But that's great. It's like if you tell someone, hey, your knees are coming in and it looks like this, but you only show your knees budge.
Yeah.
But if you slap your knees together and be like, look, they're coming in like this, and now I want you to push them out, that's a better visual for what they're doing. Plus, they're probably like, I didn't realize my knees look like that, and then they try to push them out
Right.
a little bit further. No, that's a good one. What so you guys obviously spent a lot of time on those cues, and then going like kind of one-on-one. How was it when you had to teach the group? This is maybe day 2 when you have to teach a movement
Yeah. So we
to
broke
your group.
out. So we broke out into group on the first day into our groups, and then we were picking movements. I picked the deadlift because, and I chose that specifically. And first there was pushback because they were like, because they've seen me coach, so they were like, "You're fine coaching, like, don't pick something easy." But I'm like, you guys don't understand. I have so much trouble, I feel like, teaching this in classes because I'm like, sometimes I just have them start with weight on the bar, and I'm like, should I teach it top down? Should I teach it from the bottom up? Like, and
It's
then like
weird because
as
it
I was
doesn't have
saying
a
it too,
progression. It makes it too open-ended. You're like, I don't even
yeah.
know where to go. What? So just to stop you right there real quick though, what did they want you to coach instead of it? Was there where? Because I would assume, because at least this was the thought process back when I did it. If it didn't have a progression, that destroyed so many people. It was
Right.
harder. So I like, for you, I would imagine like, oh, Miguel, teach the med ball clean. That's going to be easy. It's got steps. He knows the cues.
So
So what did they want you to teach?
that's exactly what I was telling them. It's funny because Shy did his level 2 and he came back the weekend after and he was like, when you teach the deadlift, how do you do it? And then I was like, that's a good question. And it's been in my mind for such a long time. And then we've obviously just been doing PVC pipe because when I do it in class, I do like the setup is kind of like how I do it, where I'm like, line up, get yourself, now put your hands down, now do this, now stand, now on the way down. Like, so I do it
Oh,
that way. So I'm like,
the
okay,
barbell one.
yeah. So I'm like, how do I do it with the PVC pipe? And then I was like, I told him, I was like, I literally can't do the med ball clean because I know I would crush the med ball clean. Because I love I love the med ball clean. And I'm like, that's one progression that I know is 100% every single step. Like the person who did the med ball clean, I think they missed like a step in there, or they did it slightly differently. And then the next day they had all the steps, because like, you know, you look at your notes afterwards, but I'm like, that one is so much in my mind that it would be cheating for me to do the med ball clean. So I was like, and of course, as we were going there, I was like reviewing my points of performance. So I was like, I need something that doesn't have a progression, because that's going to challenge me the most. Because I was like, now I have to come up with, how do I want to break apart the deadlift?
Yeah.
And as I was explaining it, she was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm
Did,
like,
did you actually say that? Like, I would crush that, because
well, yeah,
that would
because
have
it
been
was
funny
like,
if
they were like, she
it,
literally said, like, do something like the med ball clean. And I was like, you don't understand.
it
That's my movement. So
she should have called you on and be like, all right, everyone's done, but Miguel's going to teach the med ball clean and crush it. But that's like, I did the push jerk for like my solo stuff, and
yeah,
they're like, okay, when you pick a movement for the group, you're not allowed to pick something with progression. Because also this is when we had on ramp, so I was just like teaching these things all the time to people who had
yeah,
never done it, and they're like, nope, you need to teach something. So I did the air squat. Little did they know I had a progression for the air squat though, and crushed that too. But that's what the feedback I got is like, hey, it's too easy because it has progression. So I wasn't
right,
allowed to pick sumo deadlift, high pull, or med ball clean.
yeah. Because
Interesting.
we got back to our groups and we were doing like, oh, does everyone just want to do the movement that they did initially? And mine was the push jerk. And
Mhm.
then after that, we had broke down the push jerk so many times, for me specifically, because they're like, you're so fast when you do it that nobody realizes these things that are slightly off. So I was like, I don't want to do the push jerk again, but I was like, then I don't want to do like a press again. I was maybe gonna do the sumo deadlift high pull, because I was like, that might be tough for
That's
me. Um,
I think that's the hardest one.
but yeah, so I was like, I might do that, but somebody picked it, so I was like, no, I think deadlift. And then we like did our little break, and then they were like, so write down all the things you want to do. And it's so funny both times, because that first day I was with Denise for the most part, and then the second time when we were doing the group coaching, I was with Cassidy. Both times, like, they saw the things that I wrote down and they were like looking for more. And I was like, oh yeah, when I write things down, like almost like in school when your teacher would go like, don't write all the words down on the slides, because then you're just going to read it. So I was like, I only write like specific things because I know I can just speak from that. So both times they were like looking through and they're like, that's all you wrote? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, all right, let's see. And then they were like, oh, okay. But they were like, all right, let's start. And then I was like, I kind of have questions with the deadlift. I'm like, how do you want me to break this up? And then she was like, well, just go. And then like, we'll decide from there. So yeah, I got those critiques that first day. I'm like, okay, if you're going to do the deadlift, I see now like the questions, why you would have these questions before. Here's how I think it should go. And I was like, perfect, because that's kind of where my brain was going. Um, and yeah, um,
So how did you teach it? What was your progression?
I went, so yeah, full thing. And then I did shins to knees. And I was looking specifically at pushing the knees back. Then I did then I went top down. So I went from hips to the knees, focusing on getting the hips back. And then I think it was just straight up full movement. But because it was the deadlift, I did so many reps. Like when we did it the second day, I went second. The first person had the front squat, and you could tell that they cut some of the reps that they originally planned to do, because like people were tired. Like people were
Mm.
like bringing that PVC pipe down like in between reps,
Yeah.
because like so you could tell that that was an influence in how many reps they were calling. But I even made a joke, like as I was doing it, I was like, this is the deadlift. So I'm going to have you guys do 1,000,000 reps. Like you're just bringing it from your shins to your knees. I'll have you do that 1,000,000,000 times and you'll be fine.
And that I mean, that transition sucks. Like it
Yeah,
burns everything. Like I mean, when we do it in barbell club, everyone hates that one. Um, burns out the thighs. But that's good that you didn't let someone else's deal kind of affect yours. Especially,
yeah,
did they get all their feedback before you went, or was it just kind of everyone went and then
yeah,
feedback?
yeah, yeah. They got all their feedback first, and
Got
then
it.
I
Okay.
went after.
What
Um,
kind of feedback did you get?
it was just be more relentless. Um, yeah, that was really it. Because they were like, you corrected this on this person, but that person had a slightly like similar issue, and you kind of let it slide on them.
Hmm.
And they were like, it wasn't egregious, but here's what I want to see more from you. Um, yeah, I got pretty, again, I thought like the feedback would be a little bit more, not aggressive, but it was essentially like, I can tell that you're comfortable coaching. So now your next step is going to be like really digging in, like fine tuning each specific thing. And then that's when I was basically done. And then it was like, all right, we're going to do a couple more reps. I want you to look at this person, specifically their knees. And then on the full movement, I could see that was the like foot pressure one.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
And they were like, that's essentially what I need you to start doing now. They were like, I can tell that you're comfortable with all of this. You've got a good base, all of that, but this is the next step, was essentially my feedback.
Very cool. And this is day 2.
Yep. Yeah.
So you had your solo stuff doing all the cues. You had the big group. What other were there any other coaching drills and things that you had to do?
It was really just like more popcorn stuff. So one person go. So actually, our group kind of finished before the other group. Well, we broke it up. So like 3 people went before lunch, and then like 3 or 4 people went after lunch. So before we did that break, we were like, all right, we have some more time. Let's do some more drills. So either 2 of us, 3, like the number changed, but then Cassidy would go around and like whisper in our ears and go, now do this incorrectly until they give
Oh,
you a
okay.
cue. And it, for me, like one of them was it might have just been no, it was the push press. And he was like, always loop that bar in front of you. But he said, do it subtly. So what I was doing was I was still pushing my head back, but I was still looping the bar forward. So we were like doing that, and the person coaching was correcting like all of the cues. And then like we kind of got to the end, and he was like, look at Miguel again. And then I kept on doing it, and they were like, well, I think it's fine. And he was like, so what he's doing is, and it's making it really hard for you, is because he's still pushing his head back and out of the way, but the bar's still looping. So he's like, you're focused on, because the head's moving back, the bar must be going in a straight line, but it's still going forward. And he's like, that's something that, again, like in a good athlete, like you'd miss, because it's not an egregious fault. They're doing the things, but it could be better, or it could be more whatever. Because like,
Well,
again, when you're
and you
demoing it and you're kind of pushing your head back, people get like, oh, I'll just push my head back, not thinking like, and then you still need to press back and get through. So it was things like that where he was like, all right, you're doing the air squat, I want you to knee initiate every single time. And even as they correct it, I want you to go back and I want you to make it hard. And I want you to, so that you have to keep on giving cues. You have to keep on like forcing them to do the correct thing. So those
mhm.
drills were really fun too.
That you get to kind of be like a saboteur in
Yeah. Yeah.
someone's set. With the push press one, it's like if you're the one coaching, it's you just have to like learn how to like draw and imagine like imaginary lines,
Right.
like like you see ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, and it just keeps going up like right through here. and then like you can see when something like that happens. You have to like use your imagination to do some coaching sometimes.
They were like, one thing that they said that helped was like, look at the whole of the PVC pipe. Sometimes when we just look at the PVC pipe, like we don't realize slight things, but he was like, look at like through the whole of it and see, is that moving at all? Yeah. And if it is, then that's something to cue. So yeah, those were really fun. And I'm glad that I went early. I think I went second for every single thing because I was like, I want it to be hard, but I also like want to get it out the way. And I think it's like easier to just do it.
I agree. I either went first or second, and I would volunteer to get in there because I want to set the tone too competitively, you know, because like I already know that I'm going to be trying to crush it. And also I don't want, if you see 5 people go, you start to get tired, you start to get bored. Like I don't want that to affect my quote performance. And I also don't want what people are doing to kind of get me into some like, all right, this is the energy of it. This is how I'm talking. This is how I'm giving cues, or they all just did maybe poorly, or I'm going to try to do that good thing he did in mine, and we have similar movements. I just want to be like, no, this is just what James McDermott was going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think when we did the group coaching, I would say that the people who went 1, 2, 3 before lunch, like, it's weird because I am included in that, but like clearly were more confident at least than the people who went later. So it was like, yeah, you're not really seeing critiques to like build off of when you're coming after lunch, because all of ours were essentially the like, be more relentless. You have it covered. Now get in nitty gritty. Whereas like second group was almost like, okay, well, let's review the points of performance again. Does it make sense to do this? Let's focus on getting the setup correctly when we're telling them, all right, bring it up to the front rack. What is the front rack? How do they get there? And like, yeah, even like the demoing of like, is that how you want to demo this movement? Or do we really want to like make the demo a good, effective demo as well?
Well, and like, I'd want to be able to like, 1, enjoy lunch, and then 2, I feel like if I had to go after lunch now, like, because I'll do this, I did it for the level 4. I'll start like thinking about it way too much.
Yeah.
Oh, and especially since I saw the other ones, and then I'm like changing my notes and stuff like that, and like overthinking it. Like I went home after they gave me the assignment. I wrote out my lesson plan. This is what I'm doing. I do it all the time in on ramp. I have like my script, all that stuff. And then I went to bed, and then I woke up that morning like this. That's like on my mind. Like this, like I want to nail this. And then we did whatever we did, and then we went into it, and I went first or second. And then I'm like, oh, all right, I get to like be like, I get to go back to the experience, the whole like. So going after lunch would stink for sure.
And it definitely, I think that also changed why I feel like I should have been more nervous, but I wasn't, because me going early for everything, like, yeah, the group coaching is the like thing, right? And like, I've heard Josh talk about it, I've heard you talk about it, and I was like, oh man, this is like the thing. And then I went second, and then I was like, that was a thing.
Yeah,
I'm done. Like, so like I not like done, but I was like, now I get to like relax a little bit and like genuinely just coach and have fun. So like the popcorn things were fun of like, all right, now I'm just breaking down this movement. Cool. What can I say? This, like, my part is done. I can like really enjoy this a little bit more now.
Yeah. You already took the test.
That's why I was like, I'll volunteer with everything. I did the push jerk so many times. Every time it came up, because I was like, they keep on saying that I'm moving too fast. Like, I need to figure out how to do this. So yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys had a really small group. Did they still make those groups smaller, or they just keep you guys all together?
So we were in two groups. So it was like 6 and 7, and then I think another person had to do their second day, like a makeup. So they joined later. So I think it was 7 and 7.
Okay. Oh, like they
So we
did
had
day
one
one and
group.
elsewhere.
Yeah. So we had one group day one where me and Shaf were in the same group. And then after we picked our movements, we were like, all right, we'll mix it up. So they did like a count, like a 1 and 2. And then it literally worked out that everyone ended up in the same exact group. So then we switched a couple people. So me and Shaf were in different groups at that point. But yeah, so they got mixed up a little bit after that. But yeah, it was good because it was just like 6, 7 people. Like a perfect amount that like you could get good reps in and watch each person move dynamically, get a couple static in, and like really feel like you covered everything and everyone without it being like, all right, this is rep 1,000, so I could see this person move dynamically at this part. But yeah.
Well, and I know the workout. There's a Mekon too, right? You guys did a Mekon, and that's the portion where I think they'll make it up, or they'll have it advanced. They'll write it on the board, and you can kind of see them lesson plan, right? There's a lesson planning component,
Yep.
and then it goes into them leading the class. And I'm not sure if you, at that point, if you're just an athlete. I know when I took it, it was programming. So like this was before lesson planning was like a big thing. So it was like they would talk about programming, a week's worth of programming. Then you got a sheet to evaluate like a week's worth of programming. Are we doing too much squats, pressing, etc.? And then the workout was Elizabeth, and the coach James Hobart did mine. He taught everyone the class from start to finish, so you could kind of like see an example of a well-run class. But yours was, so this is different. Instead of, did they go in depth on programming, or was it just kind of like lesson planning on this one day?
So it was 2 separate like little lectures. So we did a programming one where we went over that sheet where it was like, here's the week.
Oh, cool.
0 for this movement. So like, should we do this? And like, was there something similar? Did they hinge just in a different way? Or like, so we were doing it and we came up with something, but like in my mind, I was like, we could just do Amanda. And then like, as we went through, it was like, and then we haven't done muscle ups. So we could also just make this Amanda because we're looking for like, what is it? How many reps is that?
9,
but I think
9,
we were
7,
looking for
5.
like a low amount of reps, but like needed snap, like an Olympic weightlifting movement would have been a good fit, either one. But we ended up with snatches. So I was like, yeah, snatches and muscle ups in that rep scheme would be perfect. But I think we went like the initial one was burpees and snatches. And then like, yeah, we did the like, how long should this take? How many reps is this? Blah, blah, blah. And then like we did the same thing where we were like, we could also have done Amanda. And then what does this look like for these athletes? And we talked about it too, where when I was making my own workouts of like, when I'm putting this time frame, who is this time frame for?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing it because like, yeah, well, the class will probably take this long if they were doing it. Or like even how like you would ask like me and Mike, like what we think we would get for this and like kind of use that as whatever. But then I think it was another article that we talked about before about like programming for like the best and then scaling for the rest. So it's like, this is the time frame for this workout. Everyone should finish within this time frame. Don't just balloon it up because you're like, well, they might go slower. So there was that portion, and then that was its own thing. And then Cassidy took over and was like, so this is what we're doing for today's workout. And then the timeline, of course, which like we've worked on before as well. And like, all right, this is how long the whiteboard brief should take. This is how long this should take. Break, transitions, all these things, adding that into the like little, I can't remember what it's called itself, but like how long does one squat take? Cool. Now times this amount of reps times this amount of sets. How long should the workout take? This and that. So yeah. And then again, like we do that timeline. Two, I've made my own workouts before. So it's like just working off of that. But like my thing was like, yeah, I do need to put the cool down, like a longer cool down perhaps in my timeline. And then if you need to use some of that time because you lost it, then that's okay. But like for me, I like barely program 5 minutes into my timeline for the cooldown. So usually that's like gone. So it's like, okay, how do I make an intentional cooldown? And then does my general warm up need to be 12 minutes today? Or can I just do this and then layer in other things in the specific? And, so that's what I took away from that part for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't think about it. And then you're like, why am I over 10 minutes? Yeah. And that was at the level 4. That was my problem on both days. I went over on both days or both workouts. So the thing I did to correct it, and I've been working on, is I deduct the time that I want the workout to take from 50 minutes, not 60 minutes. Yeah. So I'm giving myself a 10-minute buffer, and then I program my cool down. And then if I have to ditch that, no place is the best place, but I don't want to skimp on the warm up. I don't want to skimp on the teaching. And starting from 50 minutes, that means too, I also have to be more precise with my progression and how long I'm going to take to teach those things. Because I also got in the weeds with that, where I spent way too long teaching one of the gymnastics movements because I was like, well, they need to see everything and I need to do a million reps and stuff.
Yep.
But I could have tightened it up and I could have done a shorter progression and still done those things. It's just how I approached the test, Yeah. But then I found out the hard way. I'm like, boy, we're still on the build up and this workout needs to start right now. And we're going to go over by a lot. So that's one lesson I learned the hard way, but that's how I've been doing it. And it helps. It helps a lot, especially when you're like, oh crap. Or it also gives you the room to be like, you know what? On this day, I'm going to let Miguel finish this. Let's finish this workout because maybe it's this, and I can afford to lose that 2 minutes or whatnot. But I also just bought a notebook that has it's grid paper instead of just line paper, just because it's been not difficult, but it's kind of annoying trying to draw that timeline and do other things with just lined paper. I feel like now that I've got a grid paper, I can like be way more dynamic with it. I can even flip it and do things. So that's that's helped a little bit too. So you went through that process. I mean, you already told me the other one. I don't know if you're allowed to say what the workout is, but how did that go? Did you receive coaching? Like when you were doing the workout, like this is probably, I mean, it's not hard for them, but like they have a room full of good movers. So you guys can really get after it. So like, I imagine it might've been a competitive room or something like that. And high energy. Like how did that go? Were you hearing coaching? Probably because I don't know is that because you were looking for it now?
No. So yeah, like everyone was still getting cues, and I was looking for it in the way of like, okay, we've gotten shown these things before. At each step, is everyone receiving a cue? And then like how? So it's like clearly, all right, there's 14 of us. Did we do 14 reps of this thing? No. But when we were static, how many people got cues in this? And like static at the beginning, static in the middle, like we're doing front squats. So it's like, is everyone set up the way that they want? Cool. I just hit 3 people right there. All right, we're moving. Cue for you as you're moving. Now we're at the bottom. 3 more right there, or like 2 or, so I was conscious of that, of like, because my question was like, all right, let's say I have a triplet in a workout. I understand you guys want us to be relentless. I know you guys want us to be on top of like each thing. How can I do that in an hour with a 15, 20-minute workout that has 3 like movements that I really want to teach? And part of it was like being very precise with like, on this step, this is what I'm looking for. So telling them what you're looking for so that you know when you're looking, that's when you give those cues. Because if I'm going like, all right, next step is this, and then I'm just looking at the full thing, now I don't know what to say and we're just going through it. Or like it's nothing specific. So I'm like, the whole thing needs work. So now I'm taking longer on this specific person because I don't know which thing I'm looking at or that I want to be fixed. So that's one thing that I noticed. Because even when they told me, like, here's how you do it, I was like, yeah, you say that, but I've coached some classes, like, where you're like a little bit skeptical, like, fully, I do believe you, but like, I want to see it in practice now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to do that at every step of like, oh, everyone really is receiving a cue, but we're moving like quick. And then there was one thing I had at the end of the workout because there were front squats, and Denise was like, Miguel, you went extremely light. And I was like, I'm not really like a CrossFitter like that. Like, and she was like, yeah, okay. But in our load up phase, it was like we're moving. So there was one point, because it's not my gym. So I'm like looking for change plates and I'm like, I can't find them. And I just went back to my bar because it was like, oh, if that's an okay weight, then do this for the next set as well. So I was like, before I like try to run around and like delay class, like I'm just going to keep the same weight here. So they asked me about that because one of my questions was like, I think at one point everyone was moving, but moving slowly when changing weights. And he was like, you have 30 seconds to get back to your bar. And you could see everyone speed up. And I was like, do you always give them like time frames, like when you're coaching like at your own affiliate? Because I was like, because sometimes I have like dawdlers in class where I'm like,
Yeah,
go
we've
grab
talked
this,
about
and
this
it takes
before.
forever. Yeah. So I was like, so do you always give them like time frames? And he's like, sometimes he's like, at my gym, like, so he's like, you kind of have to build that expectation of like, we're moving when we do this. But he's like, yeah, sometimes you do have to give them like 1 minute. You have 1 minute for that to be clips on the bar. And then we're doing that next set. Because
And
it
then
was funny because it made me pause. I was like, I was literally looking and I was like, I'm just going to go back to my bar. And I was like, yeah, I'm staying here.
it's funny because I mean, you've experienced the pain many, many times where it's like, well, why did it take you so long to get from there to there?
Yeah.
But it's funny, like when if he's talking about his gym, you can kind of see his fist clench a little bit. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, they don't listen to me there, but here people listen to me, it's just so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. You can kind of tell who's coaching classes more often and like what type of classes that they're coaching, because I do feel like my questions were very specific of like, listen, every time I do this, this is what I'm running into. This is just like general questions. But yeah, that was one of mine because we've talked about it so many times. And I'm like, I'm telling people to go get these weights. And then it's 3 minutes later and we haven't done the set yet. So I was really just giving them my gripes of like, what do I do in these scenarios? But yeah, otherwise the workout, every movement, my front squats were really light, but I was still like, again, because of I can initiate more with the hips. So I was getting a lot of those cues. Also, one of mine is standing up all the way in my weightlifting and in the front squats, because I tend to cut those short because I'm like, I got it. So, yeah. So I got a few cues on that. The other was toes to bar. I don't believe. I'm not sure if I got a cue during the toes to bar, but I scaled that number down. So I think my reps were fairly decent. I can't remember. I do feel like I did get a cue, maybe on early things. It might have been like a feet together thing, as we were doing like up to chest height or whatever. But yeah, got cues. Everyone, I could hear a bunch of cues going on all the time. So yeah.
How so in terms of like scaling, how was that presented to the group? Was that at the whiteboard? Okay, do this or that, or was it kind of like a different approach of like, okay, we're gonna go over toes to bar now and like layering into scaling there, or both? How was that presented to the group?
So like obviously because we were like told the workout before and we were like breaking it down, it was like this is the time expectation because this movement should take this amount, you know? But also if I was to take that completely out, we did almost like practice rounds per specific warm up. So like we had hand release push-ups and it was like if you're going to be doing 21 in the workout, I want you to hit 9 now like within this time frame, break it down in 3 sets of 3. If you're going to be doing regular push-ups, do it that way within this time frame. Like we kind of had to prove it each specific warm-up. And I thought that was a cool way to kind of layer that in. Because it's like with barbell, sometimes you just do like load up, and then that's your prove it of like,
Yeah,
here's how many reps you're doing in the workout. Can you do that many reps unbroken right now with the workout weight? So like we've talked about that, but like push-ups or pull-ups, it's like, all right, so if you're doing this, this is how many you should be hitting in a single set right now before we even move on to the next thing. So that when we hit like a practice round and you're like, how many reps should I do? You already know because we already broke that down before we moved on to the next thing.
well, that's nice to know that we're not totally crazy for thinking like that,
Right.
like 3 snatches in a workout that has sets of 20 of them is not enough to know or to feel things out and to do things different. So that's cool. I do like that with the gymnastics portion. And these are like when you're like, all right, it seems like maybe a better way to end. I don't know where it was placed within a skills practice, but like, all right, that's the toes to bar, like
Right. Exactly.
end it that way. I mean, it's like a little more practice, a little more strength, and it's also good. It's good reinforcement too, to like, because we get pushback from athletes when we want them to do things. It's like, well, I only have 4 toes to bar. It's like, well, then you should scale it,
And they
because
said
people
as
don't want
well,
to waste things.
yeah, they said so sometimes if you're doing what they call it, like a hot lap from like racing, but essentially a practice round. They were like, sometimes practice rounds are more so to see flow of movement, like from transitioning to, so they were like, so layering in those testers within each specific movement is also a good way for them to know like, hey, it's not going to be 21 for you today because you're not going to do 21 within the time frame of this. So if you were to do less reps in that kind of practice round, you're like, but you already know what you're scaling to. So in this practice round, okay, if you're doing 15 instead of 21, do this many in the practice round versus, that. So it took a lot of the questioning out once it was like practice round and then break and then we're starting.
It seems like that's
when the questions
something
come up
that's
as well.
Yeah, and it seems like that's something that's missing then from the CAP lesson plan, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I would almost rather they take out that pre and post workout stuff, but put that stuff in and be like, spend time with this. Interesting. I mean, that kind of answers that question because we always wonder, like, why is it 3-3-3, But
Yeah.
I guess the reason that it's coming up as a question is that it feels like something's missing, and that sounds like you're telling me this is the thing that's missing.
Yeah. So
Very interesting.
yeah, and they were talking about like, I think Denise was saying like that for some gyms, like I think there was another gym, two people from another gym who also used cap, and we both talked about like, yeah, we just change stuff because sometimes it doesn't make sense. And Denise was like, yeah, because these overall programmers, if you're not programming within your own gym, like they don't know your space, they don't know your
Well,
clientele.
yeah, it's 70% done for you.
Yeah. So she was like, yeah, if you have two GHDs, you're not going to do a class of 12 at the end and be like 100 GHDs per person because that doesn't make sense. So yeah, there were things like that of like,
We
you
know
need to
that.
know.
I feel like there's a lot of gyms out there that don't know that though. That's the thing.
Right. So it's funny because it's things that we've run into that it's like, oh yeah, yep, we've had to deal with this. So then like we kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that was the scaling and also like some skills practice stuff. Was it treated like a hour class, like with like, all right, we got that set now, scene whiteboard brief, like what
Yep.
was it like that? Okay.
Yeah. It was like we finished that lecture and then it was like, everyone, we're starting at this time. That is when class is starting. Do whatever you got to do. Like right now, like if you want to change into other things to work out, like do that. And then we're getting started. And then, it was whiteboard brief, general warm up, spacing, all these things. And then,
Short brief.
we went like a full on, we went like a full on class. So
Very cool. What like did you like take anything away from that class on like, oh, no music at all for the whole time until the Metcon, or light music, or 5-minute bathroom break? I normally give 3. Like, were there anything specific on that one that you're like, oh, okay, maybe I or we should do it a little differently?
I think probably the biggest thing was like prove it in the specific warm up. I liked that. I know it's something that I'm still not sure on how I feel about it, but we talked about, because we've seen like different level 4 coaches, their full classes, the demoing during the whiteboard brief. And I can still see pros and cons to it.
He did. He demoed during the
Yeah.
whiteboard brief.
Because,
That was the standard for forever.
yeah. And I've been running into it because of Sundays, and we have the derby team. A lot of these movements, like I can't just say them and you know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, I can see why, like how that will be like, all right, no question on the movement because this is the movement. So maybe I'll test it out and see if that's something that I like doing. And then, just being more concise with the time. They both were stopwatch people. So they had like the clock running, but they also had like their watches to be like, this is how long I'm spending on this thing. This is how long it is. Because it was like, hey, we're loading up for these front squats. If you guys are ready now, you guys can get your full expected break before the workout. If you want 4 minutes, you'll get 4 minutes if you're moving the way you should be on loading up the bar. If you're not, then that's taking away from your break time. And like
also threatening the bathroom break.
Almost, yeah. And I was like, I see how that works as well.
I like that.
Yeah. So little things that I was like, yeah, I think I'll try to do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I like that. I'm like, hey, I'm expecting to start the workout at 30 minutes in, which means I'm going to start the bathroom break at 27 minutes in, and I have all this stuff planned. But if I say go to grab your next plate, but I have 4 people walking to the hallway to go get their wrist wraps, to go get water fountain, then get the plates, and we're running behind. Hey guys, we don't have time for a bathroom break. We're
Yep.
starting now. If you want the bathroom break, go and then catch up, you know.
Yeah.
Is that essentially what they were saying?
Yeah. But I mean, like, again, it's different from like an affiliate class than the group that we had, because then everyone.
Oh, is that just for you guys, or were they saying like this is how they generally do
Well,
it?
yeah, they were like, we do use that, but obviously with our group, we hear that and then we just move faster so that we have our break the way that
Yeah.
it should be.
And you're all coaches too, so you're not gonna be that
Exactly.
guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it just goes like there's plenty of classes that I'll just say up front, look, we have a lot to do today, so this is what I need. And if not, like, I mean, I don't threaten to take away the bathroom break, but maybe I should. Like, hey, we got a lot to do. Or I will say, like you got time to pee, you don't have time to go
Right.
do something else, you know, things like that. So the bathroom break's always a place of contention. So I'm trying to think of how for the general warm up, was there anything that you took away from that? And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should warm people up this way, or do or do you just learned a different format? Like, I know for myself, I'm almost setting like a soft goal for myself. Like, I'm just sick of the Spider-Man lunge and the regular things. Like, I don't know. Like, I went like 10 years, Miguel, without ever coaching that movement in a warm up. And now it's like, it has to be in every warm up. And I'm like, that's a problem. It's like taken over CrossFit warm up programming. And I don't even think it's the greatest exercise ever, you know? But like, it seems like a post-COVID thing. So that's like, so did you take anything away from the warm up, or was anything new, anything old?
Yeah. Another question I think I asked, or maybe they just answered it before, but like, I feel like my general warm-ups always run longer than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because I'm trying to do too much in like I don't usually do what Cap puts, but Caps is like all of these things, 3 sets. And you're like, that just seems like a lot. Or like, yeah, or like they were like, you don't always need to pull down a rower or a bike to get people warmed up. Like, they can just move their bodies. And I feel like even if I get the class pre-set up and all of that, like sometimes I'm like, yeah, and then you're going to row for 45 seconds or a minute. And then you're doing multiple sets of that because you're going slow, then medium, then fast. And you're like, you don't need to do all that. Like, I can cut down my general warm-up for sure because it runs long. Like, to a point where like I'm demoing and I'm like, I'm already hot. So they don't need more than this.
I'm trying to remember the general warm up you did for that class I took with the deadlifts. I know we had rowing. Oh yeah, we did rowing. We did the banded walks. We did the hammy scoops.
But yeah, because then I usually then do it 3 sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look and you're like, all right, we're at set 2 and I'm at 8 minutes. Don't love that.
So here's where I'm at with that too. We get to set 2 and I'm like, I'm so effing bored right now.
Yeah.
Me. This is about me. This class is about me. I know you guys are working out, but like, am I having fun? And I'm like, we have another set to do. I feel like no one's enjoying this. We're doing Spider-Man lunges. We're doing all this other stuff. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem fun. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at with it too. It just seems so repetitive. It just seems cookie cutter. But I guess that's because, all right, that's what the template is in Cap. But I also don't get when there's like 15 different exercises. Like, you're gonna remember all those,
right.
You know? Like, I don't remember all those.
And then it's like, when it's multiple sets, because sometimes I'll go on that second set and I'm like, I forgot about, why is the PVC? Oh, I didn't do the overhead squats this time. Whatever. Like, yeah.
I've done that
So
before.
he just did an
I've
AMRAP.
done that where I've had them get the PVC pipes and then we never moved it, and I'm like,
Right.
put them back. Like,
So he just did an AMRAP that was like, I'm doing a hard, it was either 4 or 5 minutes, but it was like, and we're just moving until that time. So like there were like cycling through of like, all right, now we're back to that inchworm. We're gonna, after we stand it up, we're gonna do a squat here. Then we're gonna, but it wasn't like this amount of sets. And it's not like I remembered how many times through we went.
yeah,
But like
just
at the
moving.
end, I was like, I'm warm because we're moving constantly. Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I think I mean, you want variety. You don't want to do the same warm up every time or the same format, and people are like, "All right, we're going to go medium now, right?" Yep, we're going medium, and it is a good way to format things. I think just like thinking outside the level too. I'm like, I always try to think. I'm like, how did this happen? It's like, all right, like a bridge gets taken out in a flood. It's like, how did this happen? Well, upstream, they decided to do this 5 years ago, and now we had this problem. And I think it just comes out of like, all right, everybody do 10 Spider-Man lunges. And all right, Miguel's done in 30 seconds. And then why is it taking you 90 seconds to do these things? And then now I'm also waiting for you, and Miguel's been waiting for a minute. And I've tried to get a lot better on being like, nope, that was the amount of time my body felt this should take. All right, now do this, move on. And then that's your cue. You should wrap it up. It's okay. You only did 7. But then you put a time cap on it just to keep everybody in the same place and to like make sure you hit your time frame for the class. Okay, once in a while, I think, because again, you don't want to throw out every tool. It is a tool. Right. But I think when it's the default, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have things like, all right, if you have like the CrossFit warm up, you like, here's what it is, and now do it. Like, there's just so many different ways to do it. I think it's just like with scaling, anything. Anytime you get married to anything, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And you should get a divorce. You should break it up. Unless it's your significant other. You're listening to this, don't divorce your wife or husband. It's like, well, the barbell strikes back. No, okay. All right, so that's cool. How did the specific warm up go? You had all these things like gymnastics before barbell didn't matter, or how did that all go?
Yeah, so we went body weight, gymnastics, then barbell last. And yeah, like,
were the movements in the general warm up, were they like similar or to the stuff coming up, or like you're doing toes to bar, so you're doing sit-ups or hollows or stuff, or were they just completely like different?
It was a mixture. Like, we squatted, of course, and then definitely did some like upper body warming up. So I guess that could lend itself to toes to bar as well on that end, as well as the push-ups. But it wasn't, because they also mentioned that of like, they can be or they cannot be. Like, it's fine. But like intentional either way.
There's a
like
reason
why
behind
you're doing each thing. Yeah.
I sorry to bring us back to general warm up. Because like what I'm trying to get back to myself is like, and I had this conversation with Josh with the 12 days workout. So he had sent me his lesson plan, and his initial warm up had all these things that were not these 12 things, and we still got to go through these 12 things.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's push some of them over here and kind of tick those boxes on the low hanging fruit ones. And like, for me, it's like, all right, instead of doing Spider-Man lunges, I would like to replace that with the thing that we're trying to get better, and it's also safe, natural, universal, all the air squat. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, all right, let's do air squats, lead people through reps or have them do them and correct them. Like, because I think we've gotten too far. I have a growing list of things that we have as CrossFit and coaches have gotten too far. And one of them is that the movements themselves are safe, natural,
Yep.
universal, all that stuff, but we have to warm up to them. And we've
Hmm.
gotten our athletes to the point that before they can do a pull up, they have to do a million little
Yeah.
things. And it's like, well, at some point, and this was my thing with the 12 days workout, it's 2 pull ups, it's 3 toes to bar. Like, now's the time to use your fitness. Like, if you have to, we train and we warm up to run a mile, but also you should be able to just go run a mile. What if you had to? What if, like, they're like, 5 bears will be here in
Yeah.
10 minutes. You should start running now. Be like, hold on, let me get my knee to my elbow and like
Right.
so. I feel like I have to bring it back towards the middle a little bit, at least for myself. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like we shouldn't need to do a progression every time for push-ups. They're just push-ups. Do them. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And there's obviously, it's like you wouldn't be like, sprint your fastest 15-meter right
Yeah.
now, repeatable. Like, obviously that's different, but yeah, like what you mean of like, you can do a couple strict pull-ups without doing scat pull-ups first. And like, I hope if you plan on
Yeah.
doing pull-ups like that, you can do a pull-up without having to do scaps and swings and all of this. And yeah, like a lot of the movements again are regular things.
And if you
So
want to
yeah.
get better at them, do them and do them often. They are like, do the air squat often. It's the basics, and it's like, look at the CrossFit warm up. 3 rounds, 15 pull-ups, 15 push-ups and stuff like that. So you're coming in, you're going to do those 15, but that is the warm-up, and I don't know. It's like, I feel like so many superfluous exercises and things have crept in. It's a similar thing that happened with like strength training. It used to be, you want to warm up for back squats, do back squats and
Mhm.
and warm up the back squat. And that the warm up for the back squat was doing back squats. And what happened all the way back in the early 90s is a lot of physical therapy exercises started to get their way into strength training, and people started to do more of those special corrective exercises, things like that, and less of the foundational lifts. And now all of a sudden ACL injuries like are up, and everyone's getting hurt, and no one's as durable as they used to be. And there's a study out there. I'll have to find it on with the squat in particular. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's happening a little bit to CrossFit. There's so
Mhm.
many of these. You had in order for you to do Cindy, you have to do crossover symmetry. Then you have to do all these other little things. It's like, are you 1,000 years old? Is this your first time
Yeah.
It's your first time working out and you're 80? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense anymore. So I'm trying to rebel against it.
Hmm.
We're gonna do so many air squats in all my warm-ups, just nonstop. Or, all right, we don't have to go down a tangent, but so what other takeaways did you have from the whole weekend?
Um, I think the biggest one for me that like clicked in my head was like, and it's so simple, but it's know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, you know how to see. We're not we're not concerned with anyone here. Like you can see things visually, but if you don't know what you even plan to look at, how are you gonna see it? Um, and I think that'll help with a lot of my like timing things as well, where I'm like, I want to get to each person and I want to see things and correct things. But now that I'm like, all right, now that we're breaking this down, I want to see you do this. So I'm going to be looking for this, which I do remember. I think recently I've been saying things like that more, but I'm like, now I know like I'm looking at this body part. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my biggest thing. Overall, like we've been coaching for long enough, me and Schaff. So it's like I would say like we're both fairly comfortable with that. So now it's like, now it is like leveling up of like what's next.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, and
yeah,
it
just
kind of
getting
shows you
more,
too. Oh, continue.
yeah, just, I mean, just getting more into it of like, good, you got the basics down. We don't, nobody's questioning whether you can manage a group at this point. Like, how do you bring a benefit to each individual person and like
Hmm.
really get in there? Is my biggest thing, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great thing to work on. Even if it was, even if it wasn't your, I mean, you want to work on your biggest thing, but even if you didn't know, like that's a great place to start. And it's it's also, it's like none of it's new. Like you've experienced all this stuff. Like remember when we were going over tell show do check, and when you were practicing, like all right, now we're going to focus, like give them something to focus on, show them, and that's the thing you're trying to cue. But it's like there's you can forget things,
Yeah.
or you can start to get comfortable, or you can start focusing on something else and then not focus on that and forget about it. So it's good to kind of like what you're doing is like I would consider that the basics. So
Yeah.
it's like you're going back to focus on that. And it's just like with your movement, if you were focusing on the basics of your movements, or it's like the more you stay there, it doesn't have to get fancy. I don't know how you could get fancy with coaching. Um, I'm sure there's an example on like how you could take this. I guess
Yeah. Right.
fancy with coaching
No,
would be like
I know what you mean
too much
of like
stuff.
razzle dazzle or like you don't have like it doesn't have to be anything. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. As if you're covering the basics, then and they said that too of like, all right, level 2, this is it. But us as level 4, like seminar staff, we're still trying to do this level 2 stuff every single time. Denise said like she had one progression that she was using basically off of the manual for 15 years. Cause she's like, cause I'm just, if you keep on trying to mix it up, every time I do a power clean, I'm going to try to coach it differently. Why? So like just do it one way that you think is the most effective and
Yeah.
get really good at doing it effectively before you like go on and like, now I think it'll be cool if we do this, and then like just master what you're doing.
That's a perfect example with progressions, or maybe like special exercises and adding them into progressions. It's like, all right, how can you teach a snatch? You can teach it really, really simple and really, really well, and know all those points and have success with it. Or you could be like, all right, now we're going to do SOTS presses and
Yeah.
special exercises that are meant for professionals who have peaked, and this is the only thing that they can possibly squeak out a little more progress. You don't need to do that. You just teach the thing. So yeah, that's great example. What I was talking about. So well, awesome. It sounds like you learned a lot. I'm sure Shaf learned a lot, and now we just gotta get you bigger classes and continue to coach and continue to work on things. And now the road to the level 3 begins, right?
Sure.
No, no, that's
I'm
the next
actually
route.
so surprised that I was able to do this year. I know that we like talked about it in like goals at the beginning of last year, but like
Mhm.
with the trajectory of like things that we've done this year, I was like, well, we'll get them next year. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad that we did it, but it was just like we've done so much already this year that I'm glad that this was still something that we were able to do. And I'm like kind of shocked by it, honestly.
Do you mean just because so much has happened this year?
Yeah, like all the weddings that I had, like we had the games this year, like uh different weightlifting meets and just like overall how everything feels and just timing. And I'm
Hmm.
like surprised that we were able to get it done before the close of this year, even
Yeah.
though that was like the original goal. Like as things started to come up in the calendar, I was almost like, yeah, that's the first thing that we push to next year because
Yeah.
but I'm glad that we were able to get it done this year.
Me too. I mean, uh, um, it was you guys' goal, but then my goal is now to facilitate it happening. And I like to check things off as quick as possible.
Right.
So it's like, hey, if we could get this done, let's get it done. And I think a December thing like this is perfect. Or yeah,
Mhm.
December. Because like what better way to start the new year? Like start the
Yeah.
new year off hot. So I'm glad we were able to get it done because now it also means we can kind of, I mean, not that we had to, but like we can as a group level up and move
Yeah.
on to the next things of what we would want to do in our coaching development. You know, I want to be able to get to you guys' classes a lot more often to evaluate them. And one thing that I'm doing right now is chopping down that evaluation form because like oh God, it doesn't need to be 3 pages or whatever it is. Like I
Mhm.
just want to chop it down and make it like one streamlined page. Hopefully, if I can get it down to one page because it's not ours.
And I
Like
think
it's a template I got.
and I think as we do more, almost like your feedback, because it's like, I know there was like, all right, how long did the whiteboard brief take? The
Hmm.
general warm up, did we do this? Did we do that? And as we become more, I guess, here with these things, like you won't have to check those boxes because those will always be covered unless like
Yeah,
something crazy happens. So
yeah,
like
yeah,
those marks won't need to be there because you're like, did you do a general warm up? Of course. So let's move on. Or like we're coaching now, or like we know that we should be coaching each part. So almost like it would be less things to mark for us because we know what's expected of us.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you say crazy things happen. It's funny. It's like you wouldn't think that crazy things happen that often, you know? But I think
Right.
it's like it's just it's kind of like if you go out to eat every day, you're going to get sick or you're going to wind up in those crazy situations. Since I coach so many classes 5 days a week,
Right.
it's like there's more opportunity and then like now I'm like the crazy person because I'm like what's going on here because I just
Mhm.
have more opportunities to stumble upon them. But if I
Yeah.
coached one class a week, it'd be like yeah, this is great. This is great. Think
Mhm.
crazy things never happen. Did I tell you of when I told them on the med ball clean, all right, like set up, I'm gonna say go and then reset and come back down here. It was just for the deadlifts on the med ball clean. Or I would say stand, whatever. Did I tell you of when like they were not resetting or stuff like that?
Oh,
Did I
interesting.
like, yeah, I had Art, Shy, Boris, and Dan in class, and we were in a little cube. I'm like, all right, you're going to set up on the ball like this. When I say stand, stand, reset, bring it back down, and wait for the next rep. And every time I would say reset, two of them would go down, someone would drop the ball. They're just like all just like zombified. Like it's
Yeah,
around
yeah.
Thanksgiving, but I'm here. Like, and then eventually they started to do it. And I told them, I'm like, I was going to call reps until you guys did what I was just going to punish them, Miguel. I
Yeah.
was like, we were going to keep doing these reps until you freaking did it. And then they was like that for every single step. I'm like, are you guys tired? Like, what happened? Like, what is going on? Because it's just one of those situations where I'm like, it's like my mantra from the beginning of the year. I'm not crazy. I have to tell myself in the moment, like, James, you're not crazy. You prepared for class. You're teaching it the way it should be taught. You're speaking English. You're not mumbling. You're being vocal, all these things. They're crazy. They're just
Yeah.
crazy today, all on different levels. And
Mhm.
when you coach enough classes, that's when you start to like get those days of like, it's all of you. You are like, it's like the
Yeah.
full moon is,
Yeah.
it's a full moon day and you're all crazy because I'm pretty sure it's not me. Um, I don't even know how we got on this tangent. I had a traumatic moment brought back up.
Yeah.
Oh, we can move on now and like start to ramp up our coaching development because like we've covered so many different things this year, a wide variety of topics. And now I would like to, the evaluation. I'd like to get back to evaluating classes, and we'll also, I mentioned it, I think our last meeting, start filming things too, not for external use, internal use, like filming a whiteboard brief, or maybe I'm in your class evaluating it and like, all right, I'm going to film Miguel teaching this portion of it so you can see it back. Because that's important too. It's one thing for me to like tell you these things and you're like, oh yeah, I remember it. But it's another thing if you have something to reference and be like, and look through, even though I think you've threatened that you're not going to watch any of them. I can't remember what you said. Yeah,
I can't hear my own voice. If we put like those filters over it with somebody else's voice, then maybe
we'll put a filter over it. But I think that'll be a good kind of next step on doing things like that. And I would like to get back to on like, okay, especially since now that we're meeting like once a month, put it out there to people. Hey, can you come and, all right, Shaf, you're going to teach this. Miguel, you're going to teach this. And remember how we did that one time with the breakout group?
Yeah.
I think that would be one. It's good for us to be able to do it in a practice setting where it's not like, all right, we got to be done in an hour. You got to get back to work. You got it. Like, it's like, no, we planned to do this. They're not trying to rush out to be able to, and we can make it work. I think a lot more if we're only meeting once a month and we have our 2-hour session. So I want to try to get more of that stuff done than, and still some discussions. We've had some really good discussions on things that we need to talk about this year, but I think it'd be good if we could have more practical aspect to our coaching developments, which I know is tough if everyone's tired on a Saturday morning and stuff like that. But we'll get it going. Well, cool. I'm glad we were able to get this done. And for both of you, and like I said, the road to level 3 is coming up now too. So we'll I think maybe we'll be able to get back to some of those articles now and maybe have a different lens on it too.
Yep.
Do you have a different lens on coaching now, just overall, having taken this, or it's just reinforcing what you already?
Yeah. I would say it's just reinforcing. Yeah, because like we said, it's just the basics of like what we've already gone through, even as us in a small group. So yeah, just getting really good at doing those basic things.
Yeah. And continuing to step outside the comfort zone, even though you weren't really like nervous or frazzled by it, it's still like putting yourself out there and going to do something else. Do you think that you would, let's say if you're going to go travel and you're in an area for a couple days, would you ever like consider reaching out to like a gym and being like, hey, do you mind if I like guest coach just for practice and like just get a completely new environment and a bunch of people you've never met before and coach them?
I guess it would depend on the purpose of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I did it a lot last year and I really enjoyed it. Like it's it really like when you don't even know where the rowers are, you're like, it really makes you think, because we have our perfect way of setting up our room, and that was cool during the games to see all the different ways those people utilize the space and just cramming bodies in there and stuff. But it was fun to do, and that's something I would like to do again in the new year, especially if they put out the level 4 again. But even if not, it's like it's just a way to kind of like test yourself all on your own, and they'll the nice thing is the people there will appreciate no matter what. So it's like it's really just for your own being like, oh gosh, I blew that so bad. I didn't do that, and it's also seeing one thing that when I went and did that, I think it did help my eye for our own people that I've just been seeing. I've been seeing you squat for 10 years, for 15 years, and you still won't listen to me. It's like, but now you go and you see brand new people and you're like, oh, that worked with that person. Or I did have to use a new cue, or they don't know, they don't know the script, or they don't know what you're going to do. So they react differently. And then it just helped coming back here even and being like, all right, I'm going to try this the way I tried it at Frank's gym, and it worked this time, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be something cool to add in every now and then, depending on the purpose of the trip.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Miguel, where can people follow you?
That couldn't be Miguel on Instagram.
Have you updated your bio yet with level 2?
Yep.
CrossFit trainer. You have? All right. The important thing. Cool. Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow Albany CrossFit Barbell Club, The Barbell Strikes Back, or just delete Instagram. And those are your choices. You can do all those things. And follow Miguel, though. Follow Miguel, then I guess deactivate your follow all those places, then deactivate your Instagram, because you're going to get off of social media in the new year, but you'll still give us the followers. Thank you. All right. Oh, nope. I almost left instead of ended the screen. Going towards the wrong red button.